See, we got mic issues. There we go. Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Geoff International. Oh man, what I'm missing is to bring guests in like we have today from all over the world, from different backgrounds, different experiences, different lessons that they've learned going through the combat, and their willingness to come in here and share those things with you so that you can have an impact and going in a different direction if you need to change the way your day is going. Impacting on elevating, continuing to elevate. Sometimes just somebody to kind of speak into you and let you know that whatever you're going through, you can get through it. It's possible. Oh man, this young man we got coming up, boy, you don't want to miss him. I've known him now for a couple of years, and I've seen him make some big and brave changes in his life. Woo! I say big and brave changes, right? That whole thing from corporate America to the entrepreneurship, making that leap and all the things that go around that. And he's into a subject matter that really is interesting, man. Gaming, right? So we got some great things coming up. So don't be distracted. Put down your phone, take some notes, call your friends, share this information. Let's get ready to learn something, right? Because our mission, again, is to bring these folks in here and give you something that you can use right now today to offset that stinking thinking. Oh, yeah, that we all face, that self-doubt, that self-loathing, the disappointments that we faced because we had some issues that didn't go our way, all those things that life brings to us. And you'll hear some of that in the story today with our next guest. So my name, by the way, is Geoff Tyson, for those you don't know, and I'm known as the Comeback King. I got that name from folks that I've been in contact with and helped them find their purpose, find their mission, right? And more importantly, man, just been able to have an impact on the stinking thinking, baby. So listen, I'm going to highlight the young man's short bio, and then we're going to get right to it. But before I do, I just want to remind you and ask you, make sure when you come in, to let us know where you're coming from, that you subscribe and set up your notification bell, and then you follow my man after we're done. All right? So listen, here we go. All right, just really short bio, so we can get to it. My friend Daniel is as I mentioned to you, he's made that move from after 15 years in corporate America to creating his own business, and he's had a desire and love around gaming, leadership, and now he has leadership and career coaching program. His mission is to let people know gaming isn't just a hobby. I love it. And offers training around the world, and more importantly, he's a high-level guy. He was just telling me about it. He's at that real world. He's at the highest level possible. So that means he brings all the complications into the gaming aspect of it. And his leadership shows through that. Again, after 15 years in corporate America, transferred into gaming experiences. Now, he's taking advantage of his leadership skills. He's helping other gamers step into new leadership skills, career growth, and unshakable confidence. Right. So you're taking what you're learning on the game guy, and he's telling you how you can use it on your current job to elevate yourself, or do like he did. Say enough is enough. Go and take that leap. So no further ado, let me bring to our next show, Conversations with Geoff, my buddy Daniel, and let me get him up here, man. All right. What's up, D?
Hey, how you doing, Geoff? Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me on the podcast. Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Pleasure to have you here, man. And it's been a minute getting you here, and you're so patient and understanding. And boy, what you're doing is really interesting.
Appreciate it. No, thank you.
Yeah. So we won't kind of just dive right in, and if you feel like you need to tell people a little bit more about yourself, you can do that. If not, man, let's kick it off with why gaming? Why now?
Awesome. Oh, why gaming? I love the answer that most people give, and it's not the one I usually give. It's like, why gaming? Because gaming's fun, right? Mm-hmm. But we do a lot of things because they're fun, right? Maybe we watch TV, we watch Netflix, we do streaming, what have you. So it's why games? Like, to me, gaming was just so much more immersive, so much more visceral, because the watching TV, and I, like many of us, I enjoy binging some Netflix too. But the games were just so much more engaging. And as a result, I think a lot more fun. Me, I think it was the sense of achievement and accomplishment, especially when you're really young, right? I had, I would look to like, my parents. My grandfather was, very successful, actually a politician, and I would see some of the crazy cool things that he would do, and as like an 8-year-old, I'm like, well, how do I have that? Like, how do I have this sense of accomplishment? And what better way for an 8-year-old to experience achievement than to save the world in
Yeah.
a video game?
Yeah. So I mean, you've been at it. You said 8 years old. You've been doing this.
I think that's when I started to realize, I guess, the level of achievement that I was looking for. But I guess I would think I was gaming since I was 5. I had like the first like Atari, right? So I grew up in the Nintendo generation, so I had Nintendo. And for those watching on the video, I got Nintendo in the back, like that is my actual Nintendo. A Super Nintendo, had all those, but yeah, I even started with an Atari. And so I've just been a gamer since as long as I can remember, and it's just been such a joy in my life and just a passion. And you get to that point where a lot of people, I think, fall off in gaming, right? Because it's, you transition maybe into adulthood, and you kind of lose that. It's like, well, time to put childish things away, right? Or grow up, get a real job. Yeah, I heard all these things. But at the same time, it was like my hobby. It was my passion. Like, why would I give that up?
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like there's so many people that, so many gamers, especially too, that they'll do other things to pass the time. And it's like, well, why not do what you enjoy in gaming? And
So
while
how do you let's talk about this for a second, because there's so much around kids and technology and getting lost in the game. What can you offer parents that are really struggling with their kid just being consumed with that? How can you ease their concerns, or maybe give them some things, Daniel, that they can communicate with their child about from the experiences that you've gained, that they can kind of connect the dots to something that makes it more impactful, not just sitting in front of the TV playing the game?
Right. And so I definitely give kudos to my parents for this, because it was they let me have the space to play, but it was still kind of structured time. It wasn't just play all the time, always, right? So it was, and I think a lot of the structure, using it kind of as a reward, right? In gaming, gamers, we understand inherently, like, when you beat a level, you beat a boss, whatever, there's a little celebration, you're winning.
Yeah.
So trying to weave that, and this is kind of ties into this kind of gamification piece too, which we can certainly talk about too, which is part of my curriculum, part of what I teach too in gamification. But that's just a piece of it. But the piece of gamification, what I'm talking about, is making life more engaging and fun, like a game. And so treating it, in that a little bit in that sense, where for me and for my like parents, when they growing up, gaming was kind of the reward. It was like, hey, did you do your homework? Like, are you doing well in school? Okay, the better I did, the more time I was allowed in the evenings or weekends for gaming. So sometimes when it was like, okay, I'm doing a lot of gaming, maybe my grades would start to suffer, and then so it'll be a little bit more limited. It'd be like, hey, you need to go study, you need to go out and do these things. And then after that, then it's like, okay, now gaming is the reward. Now I can spend the time doing what I want.
Yeah. I like that. And then so you kind of give them some structured time and use it as a reward, and then manage their time basically based off of their behaviors and the results of things that they're responsible to do, things that they're supposed to do, in doing that.
And I will say too, just for the parents too, like looking at gaming, this is where I would like to come in and say, the parents that look at gaming negatively, right? It's like, oh, it's a waste of time. Like, I want to break that convention. I want to show you like how gaming is so valuable. And so I have a few stories that, if you would like to hear, kind of like my origin story, as far as like how I kind of especially realized this, as far as how powerful gaming is.
Yeah.
So you'd mentioned the kind of the background, right? Starting in the company setting, right? And so I worked, and it was at one of these big Fortune 500 companies for 15 years, and during that time, it started out great, but like a lot of, unfortunately, like corporate America, like it just kind of gets a little bit harder, a little bit more bogged down with just kind of like the day-to-day stuff. I was in a good position, right, where I was working with some of our overseas suppliers, like some of our Japanese suppliers, which was really cool. And so it was very funny when I got interviewed for it too, because when I first started out, uh, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I went into supply chain because I was like, well, I think I can do that. I think that'd be cool. But all the while I was a kid, I was when I'm playing games too. Like for those that enjoy games, I like the Final Fantasy series, really fun, fantastic JRPGs, and they're called JRPGs because they're from Japan. So I was like, I started even as a kid, I was like, there's something to this Japan thing. So when I got the opportunity, when I started working, and they said, hey, we have some Japanese suppliers. I was like, oh, that's fantastic. Like that's kind of my jam, right? So I was like, all right, let me try that. Like, and to even go back a little bit further, like in school, like I was so fascinated with Japan, I actually got the opportunity to study abroad. So I actually went and lived in Japan for a year, and that was fantastic. So again, when I get into the job, it all seemed to match and line up because they're like, hey, we have some suppliers in Japan, and one's in Tokyo. I'm like, okay. It was like, well, they're not in Tokyo. They're like right outside of Tokyo in this smaller town called Mitaka. Don't know if you know where that is. And I said, I know exactly where that is. That's where I went to school for a year.
Wow.
So all the stars aligned, and I was like, this is great. So I just wanted to work with the Japanese suppliers. And so in corporate America, especially around the time that I was doing that, a lot of if you wanted to move up, you kind of had to do this kind of rotational programs. Like, all right, you're going to do supply chain, you're going to do sales, you're going to do product management. I didn't want to do that. I was like, no, give me my Japanese suppliers. And then, so unfortunately, as a result, I got, I want to say, like kind of pigeonholed into my position. I was like, there wasn't as much opportunity for growth and to move up.
Yeah.
But, I did what you were supposed to. And I asked, I was like, hey, I'm looking for a raise or promotion. Can we talk about this?
Right.
And I'll never forget, they said, well, we just don't see your leadership potential.
Oh.
I was like, oh, devastated. I was like, and so I go home and I'm like, I just stewing in this fact of like, I just don't understand corporate leadership. This is I got to figure out this leadership thing.
Yeah.
At the same time, during that time when I was going home, I would be playing games, and we were playing an MMO. It's a massively multiplayer online game for those that don't know. So millions of players. And the particular game we were playing was SWTOR, which was Star Wars: The Old Republic, for those that remember that one. And I was a guild leader and a raid leader, and we were doing the hardest content in the game. We were doing, these in-game raids, and it was like nightmare difficulty, they called it, right? And so we're sitting there and we're wiping on these bosses like over and over, like weeks. Like we only did it like maybe 2-3 times a week, but we're just dying. Like, how many times have you just like done something so many times you're just hitting a brick wall and you just can't get past it, right? But having the perseverance to continue on.
Yeah.
So sure enough, finally after weeks and weeks, we finally beat it. And I'll never forget one of my friends that we were playing with, right? I think it was like a team of like 8. So one of the 8 of us chimes in. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we did it. I'm like, yeah, I know. He's like, no, you don't understand. I was tracking like on the forums and like on the leaderboards, like we're number 2. Like we were the second on our server to ever do this. We're in the top 1% in the world at this game.
Wow.
I was like, oh, well, holy crap. This has been amazing, Daniel. Thank you so much. You've been such a great leader. And I said, wait a minute. He didn't say guild leader. He didn't say raid leader. He said leader. And I was like, maybe I've been thinking about this all wrong. It's not that I don't have corporate leadership. It's that leadership is leadership. And I just have to use what I've learned playing this game and leading a team of 8 of us to do the most difficult content in this game and just apply that to the workplace setting. How can I treat work a little more like a game? So sure enough, I want to say within like 3 months after using a lot of the leadership things that I learned, I got the promotion and I got the raise that I was looking for in just that short 3 months.
Wow.
And they're like, wow, you really developed your leadership skills, Daniel. I'm like, yes, but not the way you think. So,
did they ever know? Did they ever find out that that was part of it?
Only the one, like some of the managers that I was much closer with, like I kind of shared that, but and kind of showed how much of a gamer I was and how that would help. And like, but a lot of the other ones, the higher ups, they didn't understand or they couldn't. So like, they just never really truly knew.
Yeah. So let me make sure I'm getting this right. So you got all 8 players, 8 people on your team, but now they're from all over the world, different languages for the most part.
I would say, fortunately, they all spoke English, so that definitely helped with the language barrier. But yeah, all over the world. So I would say mostly U.S., but definitely like Europe. Yeah, it was an American server, but we did have people all over. Yeah.
Yeah. So and I don't know. My son-in-law is a big gamer, and so I hear him talking and the competitiveness and the communication and to me it seems like it's like really intense, right?
It can be, yeah, absolutely.
Super intense, and there's feelings involved. There's the seems like they depend on one another sometimes, and if somebody's not on their A game, like life, then we either encourage or criticize.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we talk about leadership. If that happened during that time, what were some of the things that you can remember that maybe you had to deal with some of that stuff or something different that you weren't expecting or had to learn how to do?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. There's definitely a few that come to mind. I think one of the hardest things in leadership and in leading people is dealing with either underperformers or even toxic behavior, right? And dealing with that conflict. Because we had I'll say I won't even use usernames, right? No names, but we did have an individual who was in the game that was what was considered an overpowered class, right? As far as like, you could choose the different classes, and this particular guy had like the one that was kind of overtuned. It was like, you had to just mash buttons on the keyboard and you did more damage than everybody. Great. We need that because we need all the damage so we can kill the boss faster. But he was not the best. Yeah, he wasn't the best player, but that didn't matter because he was overpowered. But he didn't really work well with the team. Like, he would show up, extremely late. Like, we would start and we would be like, all right, we're going to prepare to get this bot. And he'd be like 15 minutes. We're like, we're ready to start. Where are you? And he'd be in the game, but like on another area, like just killing, like little bunnies or something, just like whatever he's doing, just doing some little quests. And we're like, dude, where are you? Like, he's like, oh, I guess I'll come over. It's like, so eventually, so we had this kind of situation where we're like, well, we need him because of how much he's doing.
Yeah.
And then it kind of became this realization. It's like, no, it's bringing kind of the morale down for the rest of the team. And we can't just like have all of this weight on this one person. We in fact had somebody else that was just like waiting, that we had played a little bit before, and he loved kind of the vibe that we had. He loved just kind of like the energy, and he would be waiting, just sitting there in like, in the voice chat, and his character just in the game, just sitting there, like waiting, like kind of just waiting for his turn. Yeah. And so eventually we just said, yeah, let's bring him in. So we kicked the other guy out of the group and we brought this guy in. And so sure enough, he didn't perform like as much damage, I guess, but he meshed so much better with the group, and everybody was having so much more fun, and we were progressing actually further because of that, because everybody was like a little bit more on their game and like kind of pushing each other in this kind of friendly way instead of just waiting on this toxic individual who happened to be like a high performer.
Man, I'll tell you something. That story that I was just listening to, and so what I'm hearing you say is high talent, high skills, kind of a butthead, and someone that may not have the skills and the talent, but was patiently waiting, wanted to be there. And what you said was, even though he individually didn't possess the same thing, the unit elevated with him being there.
Wow. Absolutely. And then the follow on to that is that, so the whole team elevated, and I think, and he was in that group that eventually cleared and was in the top 1% of the world. So in fact, he, and it's one of those things where you can train, like you can get better. Like, just because somebody's a high performer and somebody else is a low performer doesn't mean that they can't change and learn, right? And this individual was willing to learn, and we gave him as much support as we could, and he eventually did perform at that higher level, and that's what helped us get to that, top 1%.
Yeah. They talk a lot about having someone that has raw potential versus someone that has skills that can be developed, but brings all the other soft things along. The teamwork, the desire to share, the commitment to do whatever it takes. So I love that, and so I hope the parents that are listening to this can really kind of envision what this can do for their kids. Because I'll tell you, you know, it's an issue, you know, at home, like, about and doing that, man. So maybe you put some things together around this for. You may already have it. We're gonna get to that later, but you got it. But I think that, you know, it's because I'll be honest, I got grandkids, 3 of them, and you know, I'm like, hey, listen, you're gonna learn how to communicate, open your mouth, and talk to me, and put down the technology. But I also see, you know, that it's the way the world is. So, and I'm not the parent, so it's another story. But anyway,
Right. And that's right. So I definitely encourage parents, you know, like, you know, occasionally, of course, you know, kick the kids out of the house, go ride bikes, go play with your friends. Like, yes, do that too. But when it comes to like their personal time and like, you know, their hobbies, what they enjoy and love to do, let them play games. That's absolutely, because they're learning amazing things as a result. And I think so leadership, I think, is a huge one, especially for those that like, you know, in these kind of big games or the more complicated games where you're trying to figure all these things out and working with people. Even if they play by themselves, even if they play single player games, they're still learning. And I think one of the best things that games teach us is just simple problem solving. Yeah. So problem solving is just, if I had to pick one skill, regardless of what game you play, regardless of, you know, who you play with or how often, the one skill as a gamer you all have is problem solving. Because all problem solving is just overcoming challenges and obstacles.
Yeah.
And gamers, I think we're the best problem solvers on the planet because we do it for fun.
Yeah. No, I love that, man. You know, and that, because look, if you can, that's adversity. What I'm hearing you say is, I got adversity in front of me. It's a problem. How do I solve it? And man, we cannot give that. There's so much to say around parents that protect their kids from the problems versus those that allow their children to face the problem and overcome it, right? So what you're saying is that problems, that's a good.
Well, it's a very interesting point that you brought up too, as far as, you know, letting them have that challenge, that problem, because we do the same thing in games, right? How many games is, for those that game and for those that don't, imagine this. Imagine that you're playing a game and you have cheat codes that you can have whatever you want. You can have all the best equipment, or you can start on the final level and you can just, you know, everything is done for you. And you're like, okay, well then where's the fun? Like, why am I here? Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
So like the old school, like Nintendo, like the cheat codes, there's certain ones I'd say I, you know, think are okay. And there's certain ones I'm like, no, like, you know, jump to the last level, because it does two things. It does, you know, it kills that drive, that motivation that, you know, you're already done. Like, there's no fun to be had. Because the other thing is, gaming is all about the sense of progression. It's all about growth, right? Gaming, the fun, the best games of all time all have some sort of progression or growth in them for you as the player, for the character, so that you're growing along with the character as, you know, you get build to the final boss, right? And if you just start at the final boss, it's either you cheapen the journey, right? So you don't get that experience. And two, if you just jump to the final thing and you haven't played before, it's going to be exceptionally hard and maybe impossible, right? If you jump to the final level and you've never played the first 10 levels, how do you know what you're doing? Like the game, usually the game developers, they ramp up the difficulty. If you start at difficulty 10, you're not going to succeed. But how many of us do that in real life? How many of us do that in business, that we just want to jump to level 10 and say, okay, I'm ready, let's go. And you're like, you got to learn the skills first, right? We talk about, you know, building a foundation, right? All the time in business and work skills. And if you don't have the foundation, you'll crumble. Well, it's the same thing in games. If you just level skip to level 10 and they're like, well, what happened? It's like, well, it's too hard. It's like, well, because you didn't play the first levels to learn.
No, I love that, man. I was like, wow. Because I was imagining, my wife and I were just out somewhere a couple of weeks ago, and my gaming is Pac-Man. Don't criticize.
I love Pac-Man. Yeah.
So, you know, and I was just thinking, our whole thing was to get to the next level. Oh, we got to the next level. Oh, we got to the next level. So the power, I wrote it down, sense of progression and growth.
Absolutely.
Man, that's gold, baby.
And just the problem solving aspect of it too, like I said, it's just because we love in games to gamers you'll notice kind of push the envelope of what's possible.
Yeah.
Right, because they want to experience like to the point, and there are some gamers that get to the point of like, how can I break the game, right? Like, how can I go so far to like, absolutely destroy this game in terms of like, how can I, get the most out of it?
Yeah.
And then it's surprising to me, and what I try to help, explain to my clients when I coach is because it's just so fascinating and unfortunate that when we say, okay, well, we're going to push the boundaries of the game, but when we get out of the game, suddenly we shy away. Which is like, oh, now those real world consequences. I don't know if I want to push these boundaries. And so we're not. Go ahead.
No. So you're saying that, and so how are you helping them overcome that? Because I hear something in this right now, this particular piece of what we're talking about personal development, personal growth, and confidence in doing that. So, wow. So what do you do in that case when you see that, when you recognize it?
It's helping them recognize that they're really kind of almost dividing their personality in a way where it's like, this is my work, self. This is my personal gaming self. And really trying to come back and merge the two and say, yes, you need to be more professional in a business setting, but at the same time, you're still you. You're still a gamer. And that's something that like I struggle with. And that's what I want to help share with gamers is that I spent 15 years in corporate, hiding the fact that I was a gamer, right? Because there was some of my closer friends that was like, yeah, I play games. But like on the whole, most of the company doesn't know that I play games, at least for the most of the 15 years. And it's like, okay, well, I have to be this professional person in this business setting. It's like, yeah, but you're still you. And so you have this separation, and I'm like, okay, no, we need to. It worked for me so well to treat work a little bit more like a game, right? It's obviously not 100% a game, but you can bring a lot of yourself and these gameplay elements to it, and that does a lot of things because it makes it way more fun and engaging. Because now I actually care. Now I can actually perform. And I have more confidence because I've done it before. Because I could do it in a game. I could problem solve all day in a game. Problem solving at work, it's the same thing. And it's sharing this kind of connection and helping people put that together to say like it really is, if you treat life a little more like a game, you can get so much more joy out of it and so much more accomplished as a result.
Hey, listen, that's the thing in my story, man, because I'm always telling people live your life through the imagination of a child, baby. Right? Unlimited, unhinged sometimes.
And so what child doesn't like games?
Yeah. And the imagination is we stymie their imagination as they get older. Some of that's good for boundaries and structure, but the other thing is we don't pay attention to how we just stifle them because we're afraid of things as parents. But that's another discussion. I love where we're going with this stuff, man. And because I'll be honest, I wonder how will we make the transition? How do we do that? But I see it as we talk. I can see the leadership, the problem-solving skills. I can see the teamwork abilities. The leadership is really about taking everybody in the bowl in a bucket and elevating them to the skill sets that they have, and then blending it all together, right? And being, that encouraging voice. So I gotta ask you, if you were to do it all over again in corporate America, for gaming, would you tell them, "Hey, I'm a gamer. Leave me alone. I don't care what you think about me"? How would you handle that?
I would celebrate it more. I would be like, "Oh, I can do this." Like, "Hey, who can handle this project?" Oh, absolutely. It's like, "Oh, really? Like, what happened?" It's like, "Well, because I've already done it. Like, I've done this in games, and really bring that to the forefront and be like, oh, I'm a problem solver." It's like, how are you a problem solver? It's like, oh, like I said, because I do it for fun. Let me tell you about all these things that I've done. And so, yes, it's in a gaming situation or gaming vernacular, but it's still real. It's still a real experience. And when you talk about that, and especially if you get to those points where you can have these, specific, especially in MMOs, when you have teams that you led. Because what I love about the example of an MMO and leading, a guild, through a raid, is that it's a game. They don't have to be there. They don't have to be there if they don't want to. It's a game. they can turn it off and they can be like, it's not fun anymore, I'm out.
Yeah.
At work, they have to be there, right? Like that's where they're at. So I'd say the leadership is actually harder in a game because you have to corral people to make them sure that they're motivated, that if they just wipe on the same boss, just die over and over and over again for weeks, how discouraging is that? And they'll be like, this isn't fun, I'm out. But how can you motivate them to keep them going? And you don't have to have that problem at work. They have to show up.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
They have to show up and they're still not motivated.
And they're still not motivated.
You know,
learning these kind of and bringing that fun game, gamification type elements to make it more engaging and fun helped at work too to help get the most out of people.
Yeah. So how now are you doing this? Are you working with corporations with kind of taking this process and then kind of blending it in yet with their leadership and developing people? Have you done anything like that yet? I'm just talking about that. That would be,
it's definitely something I'd say you're not the first to mention it. I'm not doing that currently, but it's definitely something I'm open to, and I've definitely can see some of the help I think that it can provide. Right, the corporate leadership teams, and really trying to help motivate employees, because I think gamification itself too is already kind of a known thing in business. It is, I guess, becoming more popular, but adding the extra like gaming skill, transferable skills on top of that, I think would be huge. So I absolutely am open to the idea, I should say.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's immersive, which is where you learn, right? I mean, when you're fully immersed, I mean, bang, baby, you're going to get it. It's going to be part of your vibes, your cellular structure. It's engaging. So we learn to communicate and step out of our shell, right? And the achievements and succeeding are all there. And that's what people want, man. We want to feel valued. We want to feel a part of. We want to make sure that, people appreciate us. And we appreciate ourselves, most importantly, right? I mean, you can do that. But I just got to ask, because I do this on the show. When we talk about the violence in the game, and I don't know what the game it is my son-in-law plays, but they do. There's there's guns and weapons and blowing people up. What do you say to that? How do you buffer that?
You're just saying like the violence in video games?
Yeah.
It's, well, I mean, to me, it's a lot like a movie, right? Like, we all have that kind of, wall that says, this isn't real, right? So yes, in movies, you have the thing, people blowing up all the whatever. So it's like, it's still a medium. It's still entertainment at that point. So it's like, okay, it's still a game, right? Because, and having, and I know we talk like transferable skills, but that's something that's like, clicking a button on a controller is not the same as firing a gun, right? So it's mechanically different. So you're not really like learning that kind of stuff, but like all it really is just entertainment at that level, right? The skill behind it is making sure that, you're getting to where you need to be. Like even in the shooter games, it's like, it could be just as simple as like understanding the resources you have, i.e. ammo or health, and understanding, situational awareness, where things are, and being able to react to changes in your environment. So like these kind of skills are absolutely, useful in daily life.
Yeah. No, I get it. I just, I hear people talk, everybody's got opinions on everything. And, and you've been at it since you were 5.
Yep.
So, and you
not a violent person.
General Ben kind of guy, and I always thought you just were a really peaceful guy. Never met you physically, but your energy gives off that. So it's proof that it is like TV and movies.
Yeah. And I've looked at some of the literature on it, and there's been like studies that even the studies are like, violent video games do not make violent kids. It's one of those things where if there's violent behavior, it can exacerbate it, right? It's kind of like it's more like a lens. It's just like a focus. It's like, if there's a violent tendency, it might make them more violent, but it doesn't just suddenly change a kid to be violent, right? The studies have all shown that that's not what happens.
Okay. Well, we get down and dirty on the things that people have questions of, and I appreciate you, you're answering that. You know, I mean, but that's the reality. We're talking about a game that kids expose themselves to at an early age, and the world is kind of a little unhinged right now too.
Yeah.
So, you know.
The good thing I will say for parents too is been around forever is the ESRB rating system. So just like a movie, you have PG-13 rated R movies. The ESRB is the same thing, but for games, right? There's like the E for everyone, or like E10, and then there's the T for teen, or there's the M for mature, which is like, you know, and even like the retailers, you know, at least the ones that enforce it, and they really should, I think most all of them do, is that you can't buy a mature game unless I think it's 17. So unless, you know, you have to show your ID if you want to buy a mature game, and usually mature meaning like lots of, you know, blood, gore, violence, right? And so so you can't even get those games, and so it just surprises me too. It's like, oh, I can't believe my kid, like, you know, is playing this mature game. It's like, well, you bought it for them. Like the parents that are like, man, they're playing like Mortal Kombat, and I was one of the kids, like, you know, I heard about like, oh, Mortal Kombat, like lots of blood and gore, and yeah, finish him, and they just rip out your spine or something crazy. It's like, oh yeah, it's mature, it's 17 plus. My parents would not let me have the game, and I was like, okay. So I was one of the kids, I never played Mortal Kombat because it's like, my parents were like, nope, that one's too hard. It's like, okay. So there is a rating system out there for parents. So you check the box that says, you know, T for teen, M for mature. Like, you know, look at the rating, and you can get the ones that are not, you know, don't get the ones not suitable for the kid. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good. I didn't know that. So that makes a lot of sense, a lot of difference. It's up to the parent to be the parent, is what I'm hearing you say. Right?
Yeah. And at some level, you know, the parent is still the parent, right? So and having that structure, right? And like I said, the structure is fantastic. Like just hole up in the room playing games all day. Like, yeah, no, we have to give a little bit more structure around it. I absolutely encourage and understand that, because that worked well for me. And just using games more as a reward, I think is a huge thing. Just say like, all right, are you doing well in school? Are you doing, you know, getting good grades? Are you finishing your homework? Now you can play games.
Yeah.
And then when I got to the weekend, it's like, okay, this is your time. Have fun. Right. Yeah. So it was Saturday morning cartoons and then playing games.
Well, you have to do a little chores in there somewhere too, maybe not. But anyway, so listen, man, this is all that I expected and more. And I'm just going through them because I had a few questions I wanted to ask, but the conversation took us another way. And I really enjoyed, you know, your candidness and your pleasure. So how do people get a hold of you? And do you have anything that people, you know, you're working with people on now that they can try or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the best place to connect with me is on the website. So I have dragonmorexp.com. And specifically, if you go to dragonmorexp.com/quest, is a page where you can actually start your own journey to understand your gaming skills and how the gaming skills are transferable skills into a career, workplace, or starting your own business. So dragonmorexp.com/quest, and you can start your own journey to find out what skills you have.
Yeah, you know, that's great, man. And we'll make sure that they get that access. And we'll tell you, you know, you highlighted the career growth opportunities, the unshakable confidence, and the things that we promise that we'll do, that you can blend professional strategies in with this. I mean, I can see now, I mean, and I'm not a gamer, but I could just, as a leader who understands the power of developing people and giving them things that they can do on their own and see themselves achieve. And you said something about sense of progression and growth, man. Those are just powerful things, man. So I want to say thank you. Time is just kind of zipping by, dude. I was supposed to cut you off 5 minutes ago, so I hope you didn't have to go. But I mean, I wanted to keep going, man, because I have a different impression around this, and that's not easy to do.
Well, I'm glad I could change your mind a little bit on gaming. So love it.
Yeah. And particularly around what you're talking about, man. So I think people are going to have a real great experience. The ones that reach out to you and understand the transition of taking those skills and doing something, standing in their own business and in their own career. So Daniel, listen, man, till next time, I want to say thank you again. It's been an awesome show. And hope you had a good time.
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Geoff. This has been fantastic. So, and thank you everybody for listening. Thank you everybody for watching. This has been fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome, buddy. We'll see you on the other side, man. Take care. Thank you.
Bye.
Woo! Hey, I told you, we bring things. Who would have thought the power of the message that this man brought today, right, around leadership and taking a game and the problem solving, the teamwork abilities, the desire to just be a part of something, even if you're just so much. Go back and listen to it. Write it down. Let your kids sit down and watch it. Go back and listen to it. Teachers, if you have kids in there, maybe you can take this into the classroom. I mean, there's so many things that it's wow, just wow. So as we say this on each and every show, make sure you show some love to our guests. Make sure you reach out to them. If you can't get a hold of them, let me know and I'll make sure you get connected. And do me a favor. When you do reach out to him, show him some love. Let him know, man. I mean, he really dropped some fire, right? Woo-hoo-hoo! And you can use it right now. That's the thing. Don't waste your time. Get busy taking what he's talked about and put it in use right now. Before I go, I want to remind everybody of something that we're doing over on the other side, Comeback King Enterprises, where we have a mastermind for leadership, right? A purpose-driven, self-inflicted, all about vulnerability and humility mastermind scheduled for this Saturday on the 14th at 9 o'clock. My information is in this comment section. Make sure you hit the link and set up an appointment. I'm keeping that open until tomorrow midnight, Friday. You don't want to miss out on that. So, for everyone today, hope you have a fantastic day. I learned a lot. Don't let nothing stop you from reaching your destiny. You shall not be denied. We always tell you that. And stinking thinking no longer has to be the roadblock to your success. Hit the switch. When you look in the mirror, smile back at who's looking at you, no matter how you're feeling. When you look in the mirror, remind yourself that you are worthy of success. Nothing shall stop you from reaching your destiny. Go out and live your life full out. See you on the next episode. Take care.